Hey everyone, good morning. Listen, I want to talk about shame and guilt and how they're not helping you. Listen, when we do something wrong, when we make a mistake, it's a natural inclination to feel shame and guilt. We're worried about what other people think or the ramifications or the consequences that might happen. And shame and guilt produce a fear. So what happens is we're fearful of it ever happening again, and it creates this vicious cycle of us actually making a belief in our head that we can never go do that thing or anything similar to that thing that we did that we felt shame for. And it creates this circle of experiential truth and belief. And so then anytime that we're even close to doing that thing, we feel that shame and guilt based on the experiential truth. And it's a vicious cycle. It just goes on and on and on. And anytime that we're even 1% remotely close to what made us feel that fear, that shame, that guilt, we're afraid, and we allow that fear, that anxiety, that shame, and that guilt to actually rule us, to actually control us, to actually choose our life path and our life choices. And it's not helping you. It's not helping at all. Now, there's always the other side to this. You know, people are like, so you're saying, Jeremiah, that we should just do all manner of bad things and not feel shame and guilt for it. That's actually not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is when you do it, the shame and the guilt aren't helping you. Instead, you need to make a choice to not do it anymore, regardless of whether there's shame or guilt there. And then if you make a mistake again, not to feel that shame and guilt. But people, they let shame and guilt dictate their life. This shame, this fear, because they're saying that, I can't choose on my own to not do this, so I have to feel ashamed to control myself and create a box of belief, a framework to keep me within the boundaries of what is safe for me. And so I'm here to tell you that if you're allowing, sorry, my camera here is a little awkward. So if you're allowing shame and guilt to dictate your life, to choose your life path for you, or the avoidance of, that's what it is that the avoidance of ever feeling shame, the avoidance of ever feeling embarrassed, the avoidance of ever feeling guilty for anything, so we never do anything that might possibly lead to that, is not helping us. It's not helping you. It's not helping anybody. And so you have to get to the point to where you're confident enough in yourself. You believe in yourself enough. You believe that what's inside of you that comes out is right, is correct, is truth. And live from a place of truth, not because we're ashamed or guilty of what might happen, but because we're choosing the better path, choosing it. See, a lot of times people make decisions based on pros and cons, decisions based on shame and guilt, decisions of comparison. And they let comparison create their life path for them instead of choosing. And they choose to not push the envelope, to not upset anybody, to not challenge anything because of what happened the last time they did. And they live a life that's unfulfilled because of this, because they're allowing shame and guilt and fear to control them. And I did this myself for years. I knew where I was going. I knew what my destiny was. I knew what God had called me to do. But anytime I went near that, anytime I went near the path of my destiny, I would make a mistake. I would cause problems. I would accidentally push too many buttons and something would happen wrong. And I let shame and guilt keep me from going where I'm going instead of walking in truth, walking in confidence, walking in humility. That's the thing. So I was always walking in confidence, but it was false confidence, not humility, not honor. And so then I would get, a slap on the wrist for that. And that created this shame, guilt, and fear cycle that made me choose to not ever go in a place of where my destiny was, because I wanted to avoid feeling that shame and guilt, because I wasn't doing it holistically. I was walking down the path and going where I should go, but I wasn't learning from the mistakes. I wasn't learning, hey, listen, you need to honor authority. You need to honor leaders. You need to honor people, even those that are under you. You need to honor those that you are leading, and not lead by overlording, but rather with love and keeping your love on. And I'll say this, there's a guy, his name's Danny Silk. His 2 books, Keep Your Love On and Culture of Honor, changed my life. Very recently, in fact, to where even just a couple months ago, I was still battling this and struggling to reach the goals and reach where I know that I was called to go, because I was operating without honor and without humility and without love. And yet those are the things I wanted to do. So shame and guilt were always telling me, hey, you didn't operate that way. You did bad. And then I was making choices to actually not do what I was called to do because of that. So shame and guilt aren't helping you. But any of those moments when you're feeling like, hey, maybe I made a mistake here, be okay with making mistakes for the purpose of, what can I learn from this? And how can I not make that mistake again? And how can I go further and do better next time? And forgive yourself and give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up when you make mistakes. Don't beat yourself up when you feel like you've failed. Pick yourself back up, get back on the horse, and walk forward and put one foot in front of the other with faith, knowing that where you're going is where you were called to go. And even if people around you even disagree with where you're headed, they might be like, I don't know about that. They don't have the relationship that you do, that you and God have, the history. Seek wise counsel. Sometimes if you're getting too many negative opinions from people, maybe you need to find different people to get opinions from. I had to do that as well. And seek wise counsel, and then go after your calling and your destiny and what God made you for. Grow your life, everybody, and we'll talk soon.